Good afternoon, I'm Eric Widmeyer, and today I'm presenting my presentation on the development of a new marketing plan for McCall and Sparrow Environmental business that I'm fortunate enough to own a small percentage of. And over the last few years, we have had to step back on our marketing, and now we're to the point where we're ready to push forward and get back on the ladder as far as earning new clients and business. So that's what this presentation is going to cover. As you can see, we're in Louisville, Kentucky. We're specialists in microanalytics. I could get into that further in the presentation. We do asbestos analysis as well as analysis of metals, lead, etc., hazardous building materials. Here's a picture of the door coming into my business. We're developing a new marketing plan, and we're going to go ahead and go through the steps of how I implemented that plan. We'll go through the overview of the marketing plan. First, I needed to create an introduction of the business for a new hire. Since I'm bringing in new people, I needed to obviously have a plan to be able to discuss with these people what exactly they were going to be doing with me, what exactly McCall and Sparrow is, how long we've been in business, etc. So, in a nutshell, what we did is we put together a small PowerPoint presentation, and we sat each potential hire in an interview process before we ever got to this. Once we finally hired, Susan was the lady's name we ended up choosing. She sat through a few-day process of actually learning our marketing strategy, going through materials. But first, before we could do any of that, she needed to know what we were. So we went through the PowerPoint presentation with her line by line, show her what we did, why we did it, who's our governing body, etc. After we made it through that brief introduction, we got into the actual marketing with her, teaching her how to use scripts, how to make the calls, how to use our database management system, etc. The next thing that I went ahead and did was create a budget for my new marketing plan. I knew about what I wanted to spend for the full plan. I knew about what needed to be done, but it needed to be get put on paper. So we went ahead and did that as well. We needed to update our existing contact management program. We use a program called ACT, Database Management Software. It's a really great program. It allows you to actually insert contacts, contact information, record notes on them, schedule calls, track the calls, etc. Send out mail merges, send out information that you may need to get to potential leads, hot leads, warm leads, whatever. But it needed to be updated. We need to go through it, remove bad leads, add new good leads. So we started doing this. I say we, but I started doing this before we actually brought in our new hire. Before I even had her hired, I had to start getting this implemented so that when I hired somebody, I had the opportunity and the time to just go. There was no stalls. The next thing that we did, obviously, was hire a new telemarketer. And my business, as part of the plan, the major part of the plan was telemarketing. It's the easiest way to reach the most people in our business because we're governed by a sort of a government agency, NAVLab. We don't really get cold leads. It's more of a lot of warm leads. We're calling environmental consultants we know to do work with other businesses like ours. And because of that, because we are accredited by a national accreditation organization for our asbestos testing, NAVLab, it stands for the National Voluntary Asbestos Accreditation Program. and that's highly respected by environmental consultants. When they get a call from a telemarketer, as long as they don't sound completely ignorant on the subject, they're going to listen to them for a second or two before they say, send me an email or I'm not interested. So knowing that, I wanted somebody kind of experienced with telemarketing in the past. I also wanted somebody that liked the idea of working for a small business. Sometimes you get into situations where somebody that's used to the corporate world doesn't know how we deal with clients on a much smaller level. And corporate America doesn't always work with small business. So that was something I was looking for. I was also looking for somebody that just they like to do it. Telemarketers are a special breed of people, and if you get a telemarketer that doesn't know what they're doing or doesn't have any experience with it, they might burn out in a week or two. So knowing all this, I hired Susan, but before hiring Susan, we sat through probably 8 interviews in total is what it ended up being. I had some really, really good contacts that I really would have enjoyed to hire, but there was just oddities that set me off that made it so that one in particular I couldn't hire. She Facebook friended me before she ever came in for the interview. Then leaving, she Facebook friended another person in my office. She was trying to go around the temp agency that we use to actually hire the people, just a bunch of different things. When it came down to it, Susan was the only pick for me, and she's been making her calls now for about a week. Another major part of our marketing plan that we developed was to actually create mailers to get in the hands of our past clients, current clients, and people we know that are in the business we've reached out to before that, we're just like, give us one more try. So we put those mailers together, and we've got them sent out now. We had the budget and the cost of the stamp to get those mailers out. We also put together an email campaign, and we did a mail merge on every client that we've had in the past through actually Microsoft Office, just their basic Outlook. We were able to do a mail merge with the template and creating I think it's a EDX file. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but we were able to merge that in and send one out to every contact on our email list. So we got those out. We've also went ahead and ordered some holiday cards, and they're ready for distribution. We're just waiting on a week or so. We don't want our clients to get them too early. We don't want them to get them the week of the holiday. We'd like them to get them like on the 15th. So we're going to send that out to our clients, past clients, present clients, and hopefully future clients, ones that we've been pursuing, ones that I've pursued in the past. Finally, we've got to reach out to our old clients. This is something I started doing at the beginning of the capstone. And let me tell you, it's been huge. I've been reaching out to old clients I haven't seen work from, and imagine that, just by making a phone call and saying, hey, give us another try, our prices are lower, we're doing more of the same in addition to new testing methods, testing more stuff. We've gotten 2 or 3 clients that hadn't done work with us, one since 2012, to come back on board. Another person, my brother used to do some marketing for me, and I put him on 2 people that were big clients of mine in the past. So between my brother and I, we probably made the equivalent of 15 calls over the last 2 months, and one of them, a company out of Illinois, Reliable Environmental, just because of the cold calling, the hey, give us another try, look at our pricing, it's good. I promise whatever was the problem in the past, I think we can deal with that. Just building that rapport back up. We were actually able to get Reliable Environmental back samples in-house last week with the help of my brother, and then my new hire, Susan, kind of helping us close the deal, sending out some of the paperwork, etc. So that's really exciting. So far, since we got Reliable back during this capstone project. In the last 2 weeks, they've sent about $4,000 worth of samples to us, which is fantastic if they can keep that pace up, which I think they will. They very, very well may be one of our best clients. All we had to do is reach out and say, hey, we're here, give us another chance. Next, we were asked to go over key findings from literature. One thing I noted was that the cultural distance is real within our own community. And then I give a definition according to the book, what they say cultural distance is. But it's real, is what I discovered. And it's not just an international thing. It's when you're doing business with people here locally. For instance, when you're putting together holiday cards, you're getting ready to send out like maybe a wine and cheese basket to your best client. You got to think about that before you really send something out. Because, for instance, I've got some Muslim clients that if I sent them cheese and a pork product, it sounds silly, but they'd be deeply offended, might even drop me. Instead, we sent them cookies. Well, we have the basket ready to go, cookies, and I know they'll be delighted with that. But that's things you got to take into understanding when you're trying to target a host, or in my business, targeting a good client to kind of keep them as a good client. You got to maintain that competitive advantage, and the only way to maintain a competitive advantage is to keep up with outside competition's pricing, as well as what they're doing new, old, etc. Staying licensed, staying certified, staying on top of the game, keeping up with your clients. This is all stuff that sounds so easy and can so quickly be lost. So just restudying all this after the last 2 years of not marketing due to some business decisions that my partner and I had to make as he was going through a divorce. I learned some of the things that I was slacking on that maybe I shouldn't have been. But our head's back in the game now, and we're excited. So moving on, we've also got some more key findings. Adverse selection is also a real thing to worry about within a marketing department. Adverse selection is a situation that occurs when information increases the likelihood of selection of inferior alternatives. Pricing. We don't want to be the cheapest guy, but we don't want to be the most expensive guy. If we are, that doesn't necessarily mean that cheap is good, because it's not. Cheap isn't always good, and good isn't always cheap. Usually it's the opposite. You get what you pay for, and even if I'm a great lab, we've been in business 30 years, we could price ourselves under the market, and a client could come in and say, hey, these guys are too cheap. Something must be wrong there. They can't possibly be reading samples for the price that they are. In fact, one of my best clients doesn't have our best pricing. Guy does a few $100,000 with us a year, and he's not paying the lowest prices, and he refuses to. He says, you get what you pay for, Eric, and I want good service. So that's what we're going to give him. Anyway, once again, cheap isn't good, good isn't cheap. Yeah, the next thing that we had to do is, our procedures and evaluations is what they wanted us to go through. So I created a budget. I had to determine how much I wanted to spend. I had to determine how much my marketing materials were going to cost, what I wanted to spend each year, etc., and then work off of that. I kind of knew what I wanted to spend on an employee starting out. If I didn't want to pay him too little, didn't want to pay him too much, we're going to do a 5% commission once the employee actually makes it out of the temp agency, if they can do that. Decided to hire through a temp agency, actually had them send all my interviewees to me. I just thought it'd be easier that way. And I got a lot of good candidates because of that. Decided we're going to pay them $12 an hour, which seems fair. Do a 5% commission. And